So when I was growing up, I don't think we had a PlayStation in the house until I was probably 14 or 15 or something like that. My parents always just told me to go and play outside. And that's largely what I did when I was growing up. I remember as a kid walking along the beach and looking for seashells and doing walks with my family and that kind of thing. And with time that just progressed into a greater interest in the outdoors. I got into bushwalking and did a lot of mountain biking. At one point in time I got interested in rock climbing, and bouldering was just the easiest way to get into the sport. So a friend and I just bought shoes and chalk, and back then we didn't have crash pads or anything like that. We just went out and experimented and climbed our first boulder problems. I guess the best way to explain what bouldering is it's a subgenre of climbing. So in bouldering you don't use a rope. The only protection you have is the crash pad underneath you to soften your landing. But boulder problems, the name given to routes in bouldering, tend to be only about 3 to 6 meters in height. And rather than having the adventure aspects of, say, trad climbing or the endurance aspects of sport climbing, bouldering is purely focused on the hardest moves that you can possibly pull. So bouldering is highly unpredictable. In gymnastics, you learn to do movements on a fixed apparatus. Parallel bars, for example, always the same distance apart. They're similar kind of diameter. They're always the same height. But in climbing, the movements that you perform are performed on an extremely variable array of holds. So any possible degree of distance between the holds is possible, any kind of shape or size. The holds that you may use in climbing are at angles you may have never experienced before. Your body's constantly trying to adapt to the changing nature of the rock. So sometimes I like to go back to something I've already climbed and then eliminate certain holds or eliminate certain types of movements or eliminate feet altogether. I probably climbed this problem for the first time 2 or 3 years ago, and back then I was at the very peak of my ability. It probably would have taken me 2 or 3 sessions and it would have been a real fight to end up standing on top. But to be able to go back to something like this and then climb it without feet is a very quantifiable way to see how I progressed in the sport that often feels incredibly ambiguous. It's often very difficult to see whether I'm progressing at all.
No feet.
So if I were to go climbing on my own, I feel like it's really easy to get psyched out, just knowing the right headspace. But when there's other people around, it just puts me completely at ease. We can work together to work out sequences to do things, and also it's just all the more easy to link something when you have somebody there reassuring you and somebody there to basically just keep you at ease and somebody there to ensure that you have a good time. So when I'm actually on the rock, I wouldn't say I'm thinking about anything. All my thought processes just shut off, I guess. And then I'm very much focused on the movements I'm performing and focusing on my breath, or consumed by that slight feeling of nervousness when you're not sure if you're going to be able to link all the moves together. As much as I love training and the athletic side of climbing, one really great thing about it, and possibly its biggest benefit for me, is the capacity of climbing to drive me to spend a lot of time in nature. So to go out to the crag, I need to drive out to somewhere that's out of the urban landscape. So it means that every week I spend at least a few hours just hanging out in a natural environment, and that's probably not something I would do otherwise.